My name is Rebecca Cuddy, and I am a member of the Métis Nation of Ontario and also a member of the COC Circle of Artists.
I'm Emma Nooks. I'm currently residing in Toronto, also known as Takaranto. I'm a settler of Scottish English heritage. My parents immigrated to Canada in the 1960s. And I am the Senior Manager of Stewardship and Engagement for the Canadian Opera Company.
I'm Julie McIsaac. I'm a director and a dramaturg. I'm a settler with French, Irish, Scottish, and Norwegian ancestry. And I've been fortunate to be working with the COC on a few different projects since 2019.
A big part of my job is planning events for our wonderful community of donors and subscribers. And I was honored this past spring to be asked to attend a meeting with our Circle of Artists. The Circle of Artists is an advisory board made up of Indigenous artists from across Canada. They speak directly to COC decision makers to shape the commitments that will support our Indigenous communities. During the meeting, the topic of land acknowledgements came up and how the COC could approach them.
As you plan a future, it's very important to reflect on the past and the Indigenous peoples who settled here before and lived on these lands and have been absolutely a part of the history of where we are today. I think telling their stories, allowing their stories to be heard is an incredibly important part of who we are as an organisation.
When I participate in land acknowledgement, I try and curate them differently every time.
The land acknowledgement needs to be a living document. It has to grow and evolve with the times. Also, having an individual bring in their own relationships and perspectives to the land would have a much bigger impact. Then we could show the land acknowledgement prior to all of our performances in person and digital, so it becomes entwined with the theatrical experience.
I remember receiving this incredible email from Rebecca Cuddy, and it was in connection with Indigenous Peoples Day in June. And she just wrote this, this beautiful message about all these ideas that she had, one of them being this description of this really beautiful beadwork that would be incorporated with this music stand.
I think there's a tendency to feel that land acknowledgement is othering or uncomfortable, which I would argue is a little bit the point. If we're going to participate in this, then we need to actually take the time. Perhaps finding a way in through artistic practice might make it feel a little bit better for everybody who's involved. So my recommendation was to make it part of, implement it, make it part of your process.
I think this kind of land acknowledgement is incredibly important because words are spoken and they have huge impact. But seeing a piece of art that is reflective of the thoughts behind the words, I think allows people to center in a different way. You're engaging more than one of your senses at that point. You're seeing a piece of art, you're seeing beauty, you're seeing hard work that has led to a piece of art. So I think they're very important to have a physical representation of words.
I had been ruminating on this idea because it's a blend of my two practices, because I am a beadwork artist, a Métis beadworker, and I love using textiles in my visual art, and then I'm a singer, I'm a mezzo-soprano. So we start with the music stand, and I imagined that, I mean, it lends itself well because it travels upwards and it blossoms in a way. So I could imagine this, that the stand is itself a stem and that it grows up into floral beadwork, and then it has a place for the music that's accompanying it to actually sit. And we follow the roots as they spread out along the ground, reaching out and affecting everything around them. Touching the water, and water is everything. Water is life. Water gives life to absolutely everything. You hear, as you're walking around the sculpture, the sounds of geese and chickadees, red-winged blackbirds, all of the sounds that make you feel like you're back at home or you're back on land that you've known forever.
And that came from conversations that Rebecca and I had, and speaking about memories or favorite things that we like to do on the land, like going for walks in the woods or going by the water, and what that relationship is, and what we smell and what we hear and what we think about. a lot of people that have fed into the creation of that soundscape. So Troy Slocum helped us put it all together, so weave all those sounds together, and you'll hear Ian Cuson playing the piano part of his piece Fire, that has text by Joy Harjo that also appears in this subtle way on the sculpture. And then there's all these sounds of nature, so birds and waves and the wind in the trees. And then there's also a little fiddle bit, and that's one of my my maternal grandfather's favorite fiddle tunes. So I called up two of my aunties and I said, what were some of Pepere's favorite tunes? And they told me, well, Maple Sugar's one of them, and that's what you'll hear there. So it's not him playing, but you'll hear that, that piece in there as well.
This is a very big deal because it's my first ever public art piece as a visual artist. So Carrie is such an important part of this piece because I brought him all of my questions. Carrie is an incredible multidisciplinary artist and speaker on the spirit of reconciliation, and I've admired his work for years. To me, especially as an emerging visual artist, this mentorship was integral to this process. The concept of the piece is that no one works alone, no one does anything alone. So we're highlighting the joy of Ian Cuson's piece Fire and the words that are in it by Joy Harjo. I picked the poetry and the pages that are in view on the sheet music on the stand because they say the words, I am the continuance of blue sky, I am the throat of the mountains. And I felt it was in conversation with this orange blossom that we put at the center for to mark the significance of the confirmation of the graves of Indigenous children at residential schools. And I thought it was important to feel that those spirits are allowed to return to their homes. This image of them, of the continuance of blue sky, just really, I felt it very strongly. Two other things that accompany this project are a land acknowledgement statement as well as an artist statement. And it was really an honor to be invited by the company to re-examine and re-engage with what those could be and what we share in them. And so Rebecca and I had a lot of conversations that led us to create this land acknowledgement statement that we feel has a timeliness that's really important, as well as speaking the names of all the nations and what those words mean when we say the names of the nations. And then the artist statement is our opportunity to speak to the audience, really, and to everyone who will be witness to the artwork, and to invite them into it in a particular way, and to let them know what was going through our minds and what was sitting in our hearts as we created it. It was very important to me that it's about the process, actually. So the sculpture is very beautiful, but actually what was important to me was that Julie and I were going to take time to walk the land and contemplate and feel all of the things that we're saying and trying to express. This is a very exciting time because I know that the COC is working on many amazing projects, and I'm seeing my friends performing as singers. Melody Courage is singing, Marion's singing with me, and Aria Evans is being brought in. There's a lot of Indigenous artists coming in, and there's the podcast, and there's the meetings that keep going with the Circle of Artists. There's so much that's happening, and the COC, we feel, is making an effort to move forward in a good way. And then with this unveiling too, it's just another layer of that relationship building that feels so good for us, to know that we're being listened to and heard when we go into all of these meetings and give our honest opinions about how things are going to move forward.
We hope that when people come, they see the land acknowledgement, they reflect somewhat on their own learnings, their own knowledge, and want to go away and learn more about that. But we as an organisation want to continue to build on these very small starts that we've made through words, through now a piece of art, to really create projects with the Indigenous communities that tell their stories into the future.
In the room for this project that's so close to our hearts, Julie and I get the chance to share with all of our friends on the circle and see their reaction, how they feel about it, and share this every aspect of the journey, our artist statement, the new land acknowledgement that we've created together, and the piece. It's very emotional. It's a little overwhelming, and to feel the reactions and to feel understood was something that I'll hold dear forever.